Hello, I'm Ross Nichols. I'd like to share what I've learned from my experience of career transition about how we can all transform our future in these 6 steps. My background was a Royal Engineer. I was a combat engineer in the Army for 26 years. Perhaps the most well-known Royal Engineer in popular culture was played by the actor on the left there, Stanley Baker, in the film Zulu. He played the character Lieutenant John Chard, Royal Engineers. He commanded the defence of Rorke's Drift in South Africa. And on the 23rd of January 1879, about 300 British soldiers and a few others successfully defended themselves against a force of about 4,000 Zulus, for which he was awarded the Victoria Cross for his leadership. Now, my career was not as spectacular as his, but I did have my first operational tour rather further away. 30 years ago, that long ago, I found myself down in the Falkland Islands in charge of the repair and the operation of Port Stanley Airfield. My first task was to extend it, and you can see in the foreground there the heavy metal planks that we used to build out the airfield. What you see there is not actually the runway, it's just one of the parking areas. The runway's off to the left. The biggest problem I had in maintaining that operational airfield was these beasts, the Phantom Jet. It's a very big lump of metal, 2-man crew, and they don't land like a commercial jet airliner. They come in low, they cut their engines and they fall out the sky with a mighty thump. And if you look at the back of it, you can just see that straight black line. That's a heavy lump of metal called in the trade the hook. And what they do is they drag that hook, they scrape it all down my runway, they catch that cable in order to slow themselves down, and they do all sorts of damage to my runway. We had to repair that runway, keep it open at very short notice, day and night, all weathers. But hey, that's what we were paid to do, and we were proud to do it. So my journey came from being a Royal Engineer to a difficult time in my life when I lost my vocation, and I left the Army, and I went into what I call my black hole period. And when I emerged through a journey of learning and healing and self-discovery, I'd uncovered a new vocation, which was as a business mentor, which morphed into being also a transformational coach. There is a preliminary step to the 6 steps, which is how do you know it's time to end a career? You may not have a choice, for example, if you're made redundant, but if you do have a choice like I did, how do you decide? I reached that point where I had to make a decision. So I gave myself 24 hours, I went home and I got a book off the shelf which I've been saving for the emergency moment. And it's this wonderful little book called Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. It's a brilliant transformational metaphor which allows the reader to make their own meaning. I went home that night, I started reading the book. Halfway through it, it's a short book, I knew the answer, it was time to go. So I went into work the next morning and I resigned, which was effectively giving about 6 months' notice. This led to an unexpected feeling of euphoria, which made it easy to keep going and finish on a high. But that soon faded, and so began the first and very challenging step of my 6 steps. You've given up your career identity when you leave something like the armed forces. What's left? Who are you? This can be very uncomfortable. What are your core values? What is your guiding spirit? I gave up the only vocation I'd ever had, and I had no idea who I was. This led to lots of critical self-reflection, which I now know is a gateway to transformation. I'm now comfortable with my values and beliefs. I accept myself as I am, and I'm no longer trying to be anyone else. The iconic hairdresser Vidal Sassoon said that if you can get to the root of who you are, the gut of who you are, my sense is that you're going to surprise yourself. He was right. I am constantly surprised by what I find myself doing and where this journey takes me. Step 2 is all about where are you going. You once had a direction in life, maybe even a vocation. If you still have that, great. If you don't have a purpose in life, how do you know what you want to be doing? The key is to discover your passions and your purpose. When you live them, it doesn't feel like work, and you can move mountains. When you are in flow, nothing else matters. To find your direction, try something new, volunteer, take a punt, and listen inside for feedback. This approach revealed to me that helping others to succeed is my life's purpose now. And the ever-quotable Steve Jobs, I think it's a well-known quote, but I do love it. He said, "Your time is limited. Don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the reasons of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow already know what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary." It really speaks to me. Step 3, how do you get there? We all know about SMART targets, but do we understand SMART goals? S, yeah, it's for simple, but it's simple because our unconscious mind is like a 7-year-old child and we need to set simple goals. M is for measurable, but it's also for meaningful. Your goals have to mean something to you. A is for achievable, but it's also for acting as if it's already a foregone conclusion. You will create your own reality. R is for realistic, but it's also for responsible. You need to take 100% responsibility for your goal because nobody else will. And T is for time, but it's also towards. You need a positive goal because the unconscious mind does not do negatives. Another way of saying this is to focus on what you want. SMART goals harness the power of our unconscious minds to work 24/7, spotting opportunities and drawing us inevitably towards our goals. But avoid milestones or intermediate goals. You can take the linear route. You can say, if I want to get from A to B, I need to be doing a little bit every day and all the time, so I'm going to set some checkpoints, some milestones. The problem with that is if you fail to achieve those milestones, it can blow your goal. If they are important to you, then they are your goals. But if your end goal really is at the end, then it doesn't matter how you get there. It can all happen on the last day. So don't set yourself intermediate targets if they're not important to you. And be careful what you wish for, because proper SMART goal setting is a very powerful technique. There's a story about a woman who wanted to meet a life partner, age about 30, well-paid job, between 5'10" and 6 foot tall. That's exactly what she got. When he stood on his left foot, he was 5'10". When he stood on his right foot, he was 6 foot tall because he had a club foot. So be careful what you wish for. Step 4 is about taking action, lots of action and more action. Follow your gut, listen inside for feedback, and you will find eventually what you're looking for. My approach is to try lots of things and follow the energy. It's amazing where it takes you. And just a quick word about networking. Networking is a very important part of this, taking action. Who do you feel drawn to? Connect with them and see what happens. Step 5 is all about the power of giving. And there's a bit of magic here that I can't really explain. It seems to be a law of the universe that if what you put out there is what you get back. I've heard it called the law of attraction, karma, I don't know. But it does work. I started business mentoring on a voluntary basis when I was kicking around trying to work out what to do with the rest of my life. I have gained a new vocation, a new career and a new business. It's amazing. And pay it forward. Give others a helping hand when they need it and ask only in return that they do the same for someone else when that moment comes. And eventually that will come back full circle to you. And a little digression on happiness. A great dream, I love this, it comes from the positive psychology movement. Great is giving, relating to people, exercising, appreciating the world around us and trying something new. And the dream is having a sense of direction, being resilient, mastering our emotions, learning acceptance of what is, and doing what is meaningful for us. The day after I learned about this, one of my neighbours came around with a charity tin. I normally throw £1 in. Without thinking, I stuffed a £5 in and I felt fantastic for a couple of days. I haven't done it since, but it's a great thing to do. You really can feel good about giving. And step 6 is being open to how your goals might be achieved and trust that they will be achieved. This requires a leap of faith. Make that leap and you liberate yourself from all self-imposed constraints. You now have license to try anything and everything. By being open and trusting that my goals will be achieved, I'm finding wonderful new opportunities all the time, and I'm well on track now to achieving my goals. So in summary, it's about you as a person. Who are you? Where are you going and how do you get there? And it's about behaviours and mindset, taking action, networking, the power of giving, great dream for happiness, and openness and trust. Thank you very much.